What's up YouTube? I'm Josh Newlin from Newlin Performance. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my 2 best ways to have the most effective training and practice. So everyone's heard the phrase, practice makes perfect, and it's true. You're not going to get better if you're not practicing, and first of all, you want to focus on just consistently practicing, and actually doing something is of course better than not doing something. The tips I'm going to share with you though are not just about how to practice more often or like scheduling. It's going to be about actual, when you're at practice and training, how you should go about it. So if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, and also comment whether you agree or disagree with what I have to say, and let me know how you get the most out of your own practice and training. So the first thing I want to talk about that I try to put in to pretty much all my practices is pressure and competition. I think pressure and competition are what make the greats great. I mean, in the game, you've got all sorts of pressure, and there's obviously competition. You have pressure you put on yourself to play well, to do well. You have pressure from your coach. If he's putting you out on the field, you better get the job done. You have pressure from your teammates. They want you to play well and not mess up, make mistakes. You have pressure from the fans. Oh, this next season, there probably won't be many fans around watching, but you have that pressure as well if they want to see their team win. But the thing is, when you're at practice, if you're not someone that's really internally motivated and like a perfectionist, you might not feel that same pressure. And if your teammates aren't like that either, you're not going to have that pressure where if you mess up a touch, it's just, oh well, haha, who cares? Because in the game that happens, you give up the ball, that could cost you a goal, or you could just miss your shot and not score a goal. And that's where that pressure can be a really good thing, because that is one of the biggest ways to improve. And all the greats, I guarantee you, put pressure on themselves when they're in practice, when they're in training. They don't tolerate mistakes or mess ups. And their practices are harder than their actual games. You can't act like pressure is a bad thing and be afraid of it and don't want pressure. Pressure is going to make you better, and that's where the clutch players come from. They put that pressure on them in practice, not just in the games. They feel that all the time, that pressure to do something right, to succeed, and that can really push you. So what are some practical ways you can put pressure on yourself? So an example here, I'm doing a cone dribbling drill, and then I pass it to a corner of the goal, and I decided for every pass I mess up, I don't pass it into the zone. I'm going to do 10 push-ups. So really simple. Find a drill, figure out what's important to you. For me, I'm a center back, so that tight dribbling control stuff isn't the most important. I'm still going to work on it, but I decide, okay, the pass is more important to me, because if I'm a center back, I miss one of my players on a pass, that's a turnover. But there's not going to be many times I'm really going to have to dribble through tight spaces, so I'm going to punish myself for messing up the pass. So decide what aspect you want to choose to put the most pressure on you to do it right, and come up with a simple punishment. 10 push-ups, 5 burpees, 1 suicide for every shot that's off target, something like that. Because even if you're a total perfectionist, that'll still just get that little bit extra out of you to really say, I do not want to mess up again. I don't have to run. I don't have to do push-ups. One day I was doing a drill fairly similar to this, and I just kept messing up. So I said, I'm tired of it. I'm going to do 10 push-ups every time I make a mistake. I ended up doing 230 push-ups that day. I made 23 mistakes doing this drill. It was exhausting, and the way I see this is it's a win-win. You get in better shape, you get faster, you get stronger, and you learn from the mistake, or you do it right. And obviously you don't want to overdo this. You don't want to do 50 push-ups every time I make a mistake, or run a whole lap every time I have a bad touch. You don't want to overdo it. Be selective with it and try to do it on the things that you think are most important, because like I said, if I miss a pass, that's really bad. If I can't dribble in between a bunch of cones in a row, that's not really something specific to my position in the game. I'm still going to do the drill for it, but I'm going to decide, okay, I'm not going to really have the pressure on people that they expect me to dribble around a bunch of people. It's more if I can't make a pass or make a stupid decision, that's more serious. And the other part of this is competition. Obviously, competition kind of invites more pressure. You have the pressure, I don't want to lose this team to this person, I want to be the best. And again, if you want to be great, you should be very competitive. You should want to have that pressure, because if you can't play well under pressure, you're never going to be great. So how do you make these practices more competitive? It's not just talking trash to your teammates. That can be fun sometimes. That can motivate people, but make it practical. Again, you can use a punishment system. For example, I'm doing this drill here with my brother. Basically, one of us with the ball passes it to the other one on the cone. As soon as they pass it, they say a color, in this case green or red. There's a green cone in one corner of the goal, there's a red cone in the other corner of the goal. The person that's receiving the ball, you get one touch, open up your hips, and you're supposed to pass it to the right corner of the goal. And the player that passed it has to sprint and pressure them. Now I'm sure a lot of players have done a drill similar to this where you're supposed to pass it and sprint at them to put pressure on them, and it almost never seems to be the player actually sprinting. It's kind of a 75% run or something. But the way I made this so that for sure we're sprinting, we're trying hard to intercept that ball, to steal it, is that when you're the person passing it to them, if you can block the pass or steal the ball from them, you get a point. And if you're the person that's receiving it, you get a point if you play it into the right zone. And if you lose, we decide you have to run a certain number of sprints. The number of sprints is determined by how many points you lose by. So there's not just the motivation to win, it's the motivation that, if I lose, I'm not going to lose by 8 points or whatever. That should piss you off anyways. But when you have that punishment there and that competition that I don't want to run, I don't want to lose to them, that's going to bring out the best in you. Again, you should naturally just be mad that you lost or that you aren't doing as good as them. But again, even for the best players, the best teams, they still do this kind of thing. And you could substitute this drill for a one-on-one, 3v2, 2v1. When I went to college, this is something that the coach really instilled. You're already naturally competitive, but then he made it so even rondos are a competition and there's punishments. There's promotion, relegation. We have 5 different groups. The 2 best in that group move up. The 2 worst move down. And if you're in the middle at the end, you gotta do something just like 5 crunches, 5 burpees, whatever. But it's still that just a little bit extra motivation that really made those rondos way more serious than before, when there was none of those rules and it was just a funny little pass around, try to not make each other and not really try or care. So I firmly believe pressure and competition will make your practice and training much more effective, and I guarantee you all the greats will agree with that. The next thing I believe that will make you train more effectively and get the most out of it is to mentally practice and visualize. And do this also while you're in practice. It seems to be the most effective when you're doing it right before you perform that skill. Just like you see the golfers on the putting green, they'll squat down and just picture in their mind the ball just rolling into the hole. That's what you need to do when you're doing something like here. I was practicing pinging it. I'm like 40, 50 yards away from the goal. And if I had a few in a row, I just was not hitting right. Take a step back, really slow it down, walk through it. How do I hit the ball? How does it feel when I'm doing it right? How does it feel when I'm doing it wrong? How does it feel on my strong foot versus my weak foot? Walk through it really slow, walk through it at half speed. You gotta consciously go through these drills because technique is so important in soccer. And I really believe the worst thing you can do when you're practicing or training is just to go through the motions. If you just want to go out there, shoot the ball around, juggle, whatever, just feel like going to the park, fine, go through the motions. If you're there because you really want to train and get something out of it, get better from it, you cannot go through the motions. It has to be focused, intentional, and conscious. So visualize in your mind what it looks like when you hit the ball right, when you pass it right, get a good touch, and then also go through it physically without actually doing it at full speed. Okay, this is how I hit it, this is how I pass it, that feels right, that's how I'm supposed to do it. Soccer is not one of those sports where you can just kind of grunt your way through it and use that anger to make you better. It rarely seems to work that way. Whenever I'm angry, my touches do not get better. And like I said, you will never see me more mad than when I cannot get a simple thing right when I'm practicing. But I've had to learn, it doesn't make me better when I just keep throwing a fit or whatever. I have to slow down, really think about, what am I doing wrong? Even if it's something a kindergartner can do right and I'm not doing right, slow down, calm down, think about what it feels like, what it looks like when I'm doing it right versus how I'm doing it right now when I keep messing up. And even if there's not really any difference after, it's just a slight difference better, that's still better than just throwing a fit and getting really mad, because that, I can guarantee you, will not make the rest of your practice or training go better for you. And in one of my other videos, I actually talked about a little bit about this subject, and there was a TED Talk video. They talked about mental practice. They took 2 groups for 2 weeks. One group just physically practiced single-handed free throws. The other group only mentally practiced single-handed free throws. When they came back after that 2 weeks of practice, the team that only mentally practiced was just barely performing worse than the group that just physically practiced. So what does that say? There needs to be a combination of both, and that's when you can have the best practice. When you can combine that just grinding out reps, that repetition, with that conscious, planned, effective practice, that's when you get your best training, your best practice. That's when it's the most effective, and you will see much quicker, much better progress. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Learn something, could take something away. And if you're agreeing with all this and you've already been doing it, that's great. That just shows you you're on the right path, and you're probably making leaps and bounds in your progress right now. So if you did enjoy, please like and subscribe. I post twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I post a lot of videos like this about training, fitness, nutrition, and also I have some interviews coming up with other college soccer players, semi-pro and professional players, as well as other YouTubers. So that is a new series I'm starting every Saturday. And like I said at the beginning, feel free to comment whether you agree or disagree with what I said and how you personally view your practice and training and get the most out of it. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions and even any tips you could give me on how to get the most out of my own practice and training. So thank you all again, and I'll see you on the next one.